I would like to welcome Kelly, who will be our presenter this evening. Kelly will be presenting on the quiz lesson activity this evening. Kelly, thank you very much, and I look forward to hearing from you this evening.
Hi guys, thanks for being here this evening. My name is Kelly Adelsberger, and I'm an educational technology specialist. And I'm going to share the quiz lesson activity with you this evening. So I'm going to start out by just showing you what the quiz lesson activity looks like. And it actually takes up so many, I guess, different themes and templates and backgrounds that you can use with the quiz activity. So this one, what is the main architectural function of a gargoyle? This might actually test my knowledge here. But for this example, we have 4 answers. And the students click on each one, right? Hopefully they get the right answer. Green check means it's correct, okay? This is one of the activities too that can be graded, and it will not give the students the correct answer. They basically click next, and then they'll end up clicking submit, and the teacher will get a grade. And what's nice about this too is right here you see press spacebar to show keyboard shortcuts. So the students can also use keyboard shortcuts if they're having problems with the trackpad to answer the question. What is the name of the gargoyle's architectural style? So this is set up as practice, of course. And we go through, up here at the top, you see round 4 out of 10. So this actually has 10 different questions. You can set them up as true or false. And you can also put pictures in here, which are good for ELL students, or there's actually one that I'm going to show you with cells, and it has the different images in here. So there's a lot of variety. I like this quiz because it's very easy to see. Keep in mind when you're creating these for your students that not only are they going to be looking at possibly at a device that they're on, like an iPad or a Chromebook, but they're also going to need to be able to, see it on the panel from the back of the room. So this is a really nicely done quiz by Marielle, one of the educational technology specialists at NUITEQ, and it's very clear here to see. So that's one of the things to keep in mind. This buttons down here, we can go previous, the previous question, and next as well. And up here, this little eye, this is where you're going to get the lesson information. So this quiz lesson activity is set up to play a YouTube video prior to the start of the quiz, and I would have done much better, I'm sure, on this quiz if I would have watched the video ahead of time. So this is great for individualized instruction if you want to send a few students this lesson on their devices, and other students a completely different quiz. Put the headphones in, have them watch the video and then answer the question. So it goes through with a description of the lesson, how to play, watch the full video. And then there's also different articles here, and everything's really included right here within the lesson activity for the students, which makes it nice and easy. They don't have to really go anywhere else on the web. And that kind of gives you just a quick description if you want to look over it ahead of time. So over here, these 3 little bars, I'm actually going to go to edit, and I'm going to show you where that YouTube video is placed. So to start off, just create question. So this top bar here, this is the question, and these are the 4 choices for the answers. Question 2, round 3, 4. And if we wanted to add a picture right here, we could click background. We could browse on our computer for a picture. We could click on image search. Okay, so let's just, this really doesn't make too much sense here. And this one must be a link. So you can see now we have a picture added. And I'm just going to click play just so you can see that close up. And you should see the YouTube video play at the beginning. We have it set. What's nice about the YouTube videos is you can have it you can have it start and stop anywhere within the YouTube video. So if it's a 12-minute YouTube video, you just set it, let's say you want it to start at 2 minutes and 50 seconds, and you want it to end at 6 minutes and 30 seconds, you just put that in, and that's where it stops and starts. So if I X this out, you can see here, that's the image that I added. So this is great for ELL students as well, or if you wanted to do rhyming words and you wanted to have pictures, it's really good for like multi-tier students. Maybe your tier 3 students or your lower students might need a picture to help, and your higher level students might not. So it's a really good way to differentiate as well. So I'm going to go back here to edit up at the 3 little dots there. So we add our backgrounds here. We can add sounds as well. And we can also change the order by just moving these pluses up and down. And you can see the order change here. Here we have a font selection for our text. Okay. And you can see that change all the way through the quiz. It changes the title and it changes on each of the boxes. And depending on how much text you have here in this area, that's going to determine your size. So if I go to extra large, it's not all going to fit because there's too much information here. So you can kind of play around with the size, okay? And that's why it was small, because that fit the best. Here is the color of the text. You can add a shadow. Take the shadow off. And this is where the background was added. So this is the background, the gargoyle. We can get rid of that. We can go to one of the themes here, even though I thought that was a beautiful background for the quiz. But we could click dungeon. This is an actual, it's an animated. But then you see here, you want to be careful. This is very, very difficult to see even from the back of the room, and we want to make sure we keep in mind those students that might have visual problems. This is definitely something that's going to be hard to see. Okay, this is much better. And you notice I just went down here to color, and then I changed that to white. Okay, now choose a fit. This means that depending on what device that the student is on, I always choose fit. That way the background's going to look the same on any device that you're on. So if you're at the panel, it's going to look the same. If you're on a Chromebook, it's going to look the same. If you choose stretch or fill, it might look a little bit different on each of those devices. So I usually choose fit. You can have your questions ordered, and you can also randomize them, which is nice, because if you have students working next to each other, you can hit that randomize button and they won't have the same questions coming up on their device at the same time. There's also a timer you can set. You can set right here how many minutes and seconds that you want the quiz activity to last.
Kelly, we have a question.
Yes.
During your description, you said that you can set the time for the beginning and the end of the YouTube video if you include one.
Yes.
And could you show where that would be done?
Absolutely. So right now we're under the Manage Content tab, and that's where we put our questions and our answers and our pictures in. When we go to the lesson activity info, when I showed, when we played this activity, there was that little I, and we got the description. That's where all this information, okay, about the lesson can be placed. You can add screenshots if you want to upload it to community. Those are going to be the screenshots that show up to help find your lesson activity. But right here is where you would add your YouTube video. So you just copy and paste the link from YouTube. And here's the start point. So this video was set to start at 10 seconds, probably because there was an ad at the beginning. So it's great that you can skip that ad. And then the end point of the video is 1 minute and 43 seconds. So it's about 1 minute and 33 seconds long. And this says show before the lesson activity, and it is checked to yes, which means when the lesson activity starts to play, that video will automatically show first. So we have the age group here, 13 to 15, the subject, United States, and then these are those external web links. So we went to the information, those links that turn blue, that were clickable. This is the title of one of those, and then this is just a URL copied and pasted from the internet, and the same here as well. And keywords are nice to find the lesson, or for other teachers to find the lesson activity, and you just separate those with commas. So here I might type gargoyles, comma, architecture, comma, social studies, comma, history, comma, science fiction. And then you can also add standards, and here there are 2 standards added already to this quiz lesson activity, and those are found in the information tab as well. Did that help answer the question to the YouTube video for you?
Yes, thank you very much as the response.
So I'm going to go to the Snowflake community lesson activities and show you how to search just for a quiz activity that's already created. So right here, I'm actually on the Explore page.
While you're actually doing an Explore, I do have a question about that, saying, is it possible to search for lessons that include YouTube videos?
That's a really good question. I believe there's a little mark on the lesson right here. So this is a YouTube linked lesson activity. So if I go to all lesson types and I click quiz, we should get quiz lessons. I don't see too many here that have the YouTube already linked. And a lot of that has to do with copyright too. So you might use something in your classroom that's copyrighted by YouTube, but it might not be on the community posted by the company. So, or by other teachers that post it to the community. But there's usually a little red YouTube linked video. And the one lesson I was going to show you was, well, here's one. This is on eclipses. So if you just click on the lesson, you can preview it here. It shows you who it's created by. You can download this lesson activity, and you can download it to your computer, and you can play it from there. You can also play it in Snowflake. And there's actually 2 different versions of Snowflake. This is the web-based version, and on your panels, you will have an app version that's on the panels, and that's called Snowflake. They're very similar. There's a few minor differences, but your account syncs. So if you're at home and you create a quiz lesson activity at home, whenever you get to school and you log into your panel and you log into Snowflake, then that lesson that you created will be right there in your created lessons, which makes it really nice. Solar and lunar eclipses have which of the following types? So here we have some pictures, here we don't. And up here again, remember the rounds. This is round 2 out of 15. And this one here has a timer set, and you can see that timer countdown as well. And on the panel version in Snowflake, you can actually divide your panel into different zones. So you could have students up at the board, 2, 3, or 4 at a time, actually competing, kind of like a, I guess it wouldn't be a math race here, but you could have the students competing, which they love, and it's really fun. Right here, my lesson activities, those are any lessons that you download or that you look at, basically, and also those that you create. So any lessons that I pulled up recently are going to show up in that section. So you see the eclipses that's coming up here, right, and the gargoyles. And these are other ones here that I've opened and or created recently. So these are all my lesson activities. Explore takes you to the community. Create, to create one, go to create lesson activity, and out of our 16 templates here, we're going to choose quiz. And then we can start creating. So we have a question, which word rhymes with goat? Okay, we're gonna create the answer here. Actually, gonna get rid of this. So we have boat, tire, and what's neat too is you can also have the students create these. It's a really good way to see if they understand the concept that you've been teaching, or they understand the content. And what I didn't show you here was we're going to customize content. So we have to select which one the right answer is. So we go to customize content, which word rhymes with goat. We're going to pick boat as our correct answer. We can go back to manage content. Again, we can change the theme, which will change the background, or we can also browse. We can pull an image up from our Google Drive, OneDrive, or even the content gallery. And these are backgrounds that have already been created for you. I always go to this Starlight. And then you can see that's nice and crisp and clear and easy for the students to see. I would probably want to change my font size as large as I can, where words don't go over, but it's easy to see. So there, I got the answer correct, but I only had one round, so my quiz is over. But we can go back and edit, and then we can add more information to that. So you can see just really how simple and easy these are to create. You can also edit any of the lesson activities that you find on the community. So maybe you really like the gargoyle quiz, but there's a couple things that you didn't cover, and you covered some other content with that instead. And so you can easily go in and edit those questions and change them around, and then use them to just kind of suit your needs. Any questions so far?
I do have a question, Kelly, that just came in, and it's two questions at once, and it says, when creating a quiz, can you create a quiz for math that involves rigor? And will the software score the quiz instantly? So I'm going to answer a little bit of the first part, if that's okay, Kelly?
Absolutely.
And then you can carry on from there. So you can create as much rigor as you would like within Snowflake. With this activity, or with many of the other activities, you can have a lot of very rigorous and high level thinking activities that occur. It means that you may want to use different things other than just thinking about things the way they appear. So Kelly's done a little bit of that here with using images and words and numbers. So these cards could have an equation on them. You could have all kinds of things, and you can make your own graphics if you would like, and upload those into the cards. So you could do whatever you would like as far as making a lot of rigor. And we do have a person on our team that's creating some math lessons in 6 through 8, and I will tell you they're so rigorous I can't do quite a few of them for 6 through 8, which is kind of sad. And then Kelly, you can go on with that and continue answering that if you would like. And also the next part of the question is, will the software score the quiz instantly?
Yes, it will. There's out of the 16 different lesson activity types, 8 of those are gradable. And so whenever I click over here on the 3 little dots, we can click send to students. And we are going to have another webinar which will show you how to add your class and add students. But if I click here, gradable assessment, I would select my class, and then you can also select specific students in the class. Okay? And when you click send, then when the students log into their snow.live account, they will see that they have an assignment, and it will either say a practice or it will say a gradable assessment. And you can even have several of those. You could have 3 or 4 practice and 2 or 3 gradable assignments. And it's not going to show them whether they get it, correct or incorrect. It's just going to have the next button, and then at the end they click submit. And you can actually click on each of your students, and it will show you every question and which ones they got right, which ones they got wrong, and then it will also give you a percentage and a grade for that quiz. So it's kind of eye-opening too, because when I was working with some students last year, I noticed that, and it's just with anything we do, even with the Google form, well, a lot of the kids missed, question number 2, and it wasn't randomized, so maybe there was something wrong with the question. You can kind of analyze things that way. But yes, the quiz is gradable. Any other questions?
So somebody would like to see a 6th grade math lesson. So if you want to choose NUITEQ teachers, just choose NUITEQ teachers and math 6th through 8th grade. So ages, whatever 6th or 8th grade is.
What do we want? 6th grade here?
13 to 15, yeah. And then all subjects change it to math. And then just the second one there, similar triangles and slope. That looks like I would not understand that, so that might be
Yeah.
So I don't know the first name of the person. The last name is Forrest. So Forrest, this is one that we can show where there's a video that's been created ahead of time. The video just teaches the concept, teaches the actual math concept, and this is the activity that was built to go along with that concept. So it's not a quiz activity. This one is a tag, if I'm correct. Yes, a tag activity.
And the students have to drag the correct answer over. Obviously, this is wrong. I'm certified 1st through 6th grade, so that's my excuse. But there are tons of excellent and difficult math lessons, but this is a very, very good example of how you can create a rigorous activity in the Snowflake software.
Okay. Thank you, Kelly, and thank you for asking that question.
Any other questions? Here we have show answers. Kind of went quick there. That's what I should have did prior to showing this. Then everybody thought I was super, super smart when it came to.
Angela is asking, is there a way to extend the time for show answers?
Well, after I click it, right, and it goes away, when I X this out, it'll come back.
And we have another one that says, can parents view assignments to give to our students, and if so, how?
That's a really good question. I don't know any other way other than sharing the password with the parents.
Yeah, right now it would have to be just the parents would need to know the Google password of the Google Classroom password of the child. We don't have a parent portal. And I would like to just let all the participants know, you can ask questions about anything. Obviously, we've gone off of match and into tags, or from quiz into tags. So anything that you would like to ask about, feel free to ask.
So down here, there is a help section. And this is great because it goes through, right? Since we were in a tags lesson and I go to help, it's going to give a description of how to create the tags lesson. So depending on which template you're in, you can click on those 3 little bars right here, and you can click on help, and it will take you through a step-by-step for each of the lesson activities. So that's something that's, if you're a visual learner, and it's like right there at your fingertips.
Okay, and I would like to also mention, we have 2 questions, but in the meantime, I would like to mention there are training videos at training.nuiteq.com. Each of those videos is only about 3 minutes, and it explains how to use each of the lesson activities, each of the apps actually on Snowflake. If you watch all of them back to back, it's only about an hour and a half, and you would learn everything you need to know about Snowflake. They're very, very well done and very bite-sized and easy to look at. So we would like to make sure that you are aware that that is there. And I'm getting a load of questions here, so I'm going to start back to make sure I don't lose them. Can students create lesson activities?
Yes, they can. So under the student account, they see pretty much what the teacher does is everything except for the student list in the class, but they can go through and they can create any of the 16 lesson activity templates. So that's a really good way for like maybe a completion to a project. You can have them come up with a quiz or come up with a tagged activity or lesson, and then they can share those with you, and then you can use them in the class on the panel, or you can also send them to students on the Chromebook, so then they get to kind of be the teacher and get to see their lesson activity being used with the class. So absolutely, they can create all of the 16 lesson activity templates.
Okay. And Angela has another question. Is there a way to create a tags activity without the numbers that go on the tag?
No. At this point, there's not. That little number is what you drag over. That tag is what you line up with the correct answer. Is that the little circle.
So Angela, I understand what you're saying. She wrote this, she's wanting to create a math activity but thought the numbers might confuse students. So I'm going to take that note back, and maybe in the future we would be able to change it to a letter or a choice between a letter or a number. I'm not sure if that could happen, but that's something to think about. Thank you for bringing that up.
That's a good idea. I've actually thought of that myself. But I do notice, like, once the students do a tags activity, even if it's math just a couple times, that kind of fades. So if that makes sense, they kind of ignore those numbers and then just drag them where they're supposed to go after, the second or third time. But I think the letters would be a good choice.
I want to point this out as this is something that for me is very valuable. So when I get information like that or feedback like that, it could be things that I would have never thought about, and I can take it back to our company. So I would encourage all of you to constantly provide that kind of feedback. That's how we make our product better and more useful to you guys. So thank you. So there's a question asked about the quiz activity, and it was, is there a limit to the number of rounds that you could have in a quiz activity?
There's, in the lesson activities, most of them, there's a limit to 15 rounds. Oh.
In the quiz activity, is there a limit to the number of questions in each round? Could you go back and show that, I guess, is what they're asking. Thank you.
Yes, I think there's 15 questions and 15 rounds. Danielle or Jack, you can step in if that's not correct, but I think it's 15 questions and 15 rounds. What's neat though is when you create a lesson activity, you can create, you can actually link one activity to another. So for instance, if we were in similar triangles in slope, we could find the link to another activity and put it in the lesson description, or put it down in that external web link, and the students could click on that and then go directly to another activity. But in the quiz, I believe there's 15 questions and then per round, and then 15. You know what? No, that's not right. I think there's just 15 questions. I think each round is a question. We can play it and see. So if we go here to edit, and I add another question, it should be round 2 out of 15 up here.
While you're doing that, Kelly, I'm going to answer another question that came in so that you can continue to work. And that was, is there a way to have students short answer or fill in the blank? Currently, there is not, but that is something that we have put on the roadmap. Feedback from those of us that are the educators in the company have said that we would like it also, so that is on the roadmap. So as soon as that comes out, we will let you guys know about it. And then, Kelly, you can go ahead and tell us what you just found out before I ask the other question.
Yep, so I have 2 questions here. So this is round 1 out of 2. So question 1 out of 2. So you can have 15 questions on each quiz.
Okay, great. And then there's another question. It says that Kelly mentioned themes of backgrounds. Can you explain more examples of what different themes are?
Absolutely. So I'm going to go back to edit. For this background, I chose one from the content gallery. And so here we have a jungle theme. I had to get rid of my background here. So we have the jungle theme. There's candy. And there's a few of them that, see this one here, it's animated. Most of the backgrounds are just static. This is animated, and I would not use this text here because it's difficult to see, but that's an example of the candy theme. The kids like the dungeon one a lot. It's animated as well. Underwater. And same type of thing when we click play. Gonna give them an animation before the quiz comes up. Oh, I was just gonna say that it looks absolutely beautiful on the panel as well, these backgrounds.
We have another question that says, how can I filter gradable lessons from practice lessons?
So whenever we go here to send to students, if you do not click gradable assessment and you send it to your students, it's going to send as a practice activity. If I click this, then it's going to send it as a gradable assignment. And when you go into create, if you know ahead of time, if you want it to be practice or gradable, when you go to create it, you can click either assessment or practice. But even if you choose assessment, you can always change that later.
Kelly, are there ways to organize the lessons that I create?
I'm going to go to my lesson activities here. You can create lists, and this is probably the best way to organize them. And you can create different lists of activities. So in your lesson, just your regular lesson activities, those are going to come up in the order that you open them. But then if you go to lists, you can organize them there. Okay, we can also organize them in groups. So if you wanted to group them a certain way. Any lessons that you have liked. So on the community page, if you click the little heart, you can like a lesson. So any lessons that you liked will show up there. And then also any lessons that you have shared lesson activities. So these all have the hearts checked. And they just came up. I'm not sure why it says it, but shared lesson activities. These are the ones that have been shared to the community. Here's one, it's tags, but this is just another way. I know we have some younger elementary teachers, and see, this would be a good, that question, I think it was from Angela, to change these to maybe letters, because I can see how that would be confusing. But count by fives, how many pugs are in each box. So the students have to count by five and then drag them to the right spot. So there's a really a variety of things that you can do with these lesson activity types.
So someone has asked about that you've mentioned the content that we've created a few times, and if we could explain that. So I'll explain that a little bit if that's okay. So there are a group of educators that work for NUITEQ, Kelly being one of them, and Danielle, the other host that we have on quite often, is another one. But there's a group of people that create content for NUITEQ. So when Kelly if she'll go to the search function and show how we can search by NUITEQ teacher. If you choose NUITEQ teacher, you're going to be getting content that we've created, which means that it's gone through a rubric and has been reviewed by other people to make sure that the content is of value. Not to say that all the content out there is not of value, but we've gone through and really looked at this to make sure that it's not, that it's something that you could use in your classroom. So you search for NUITEQ teachers and you'll come up with all of the content that's been created. You can also filter that by standard. So if you, and we'll use Common Core since 34 states use Common Core. If you go in and choose Common Core and you want to look at Common Core Math grade 7, so we'll go Common Core Math, then grade 7, and then we can look down and just, those are, they're popping up with some tiles for each of the Common Core that have been built with that. So you can look and find something that's aligned to the exact standard that you will be teaching. In addition to Common Core, all of these activities will be aligned to all the other state standards and next generation science standards. And within the next few months, you should be expecting to find one lesson activity for every English language arts, every math, and every science standard K through 12. So hopefully that answers the questions you're asking about what the content we created is. And I will say, Kelly creates some amazing backgrounds that I do not have the patience to sit and make. So we have to give Kelly some kudos on that. So, Kelly, is there anything else that you would like to say before we close?
I don't think so. I want to thank you guys for being a great audience and just recommending things that could be changed or added to make your life easier. And we always, we're looking for feedback and things that, can be done to help improve what you're doing in the classroom. And thank you guys so much for your questions, because you guys have asked some really, really great questions tonight. And I think that's awesome, because, sometimes I forget. I'm not proficient by any means. And so, I'm still learning as we go too. So thank you so much.
So thank you, Kelly, for leading it. And again, I would like to thank everyone that joined us this evening. And Kelly, people are saying thank you in the chat. Have a good evening.
Good night.